Do you guys remember when I played Rainbow Dragon OTK last week and I complained that the replays were way too hard to get because the deck wasn't good enough and that I wouldn't play stupid decks again? Well, anyway, I went back on that and played Evil Hero Dark Gaia, and boy, was it something. If you've never heard of Evil Hero Dark Gaia, I wouldn't really blame you, so I'm going to kind of go around the basics of this deck before I actually get into the replays. So this is a really old card, but basically it takes one Fiend-type monster and one Rock-type monster to fusion summon, and then it gains all the combined attack from both of those monsters, and also when it attacks, it switches everything. You can switch everything your opponent controls in defense to attack position. This is a card that was used in a couple OTKs back in the day, but it never really did anything. The problem is that all the high attack Fiend Rock monsters are really bad in your hand, and there's a middle ground where I suppose you can play medium attack monsters just to summon this, but not have sucky monsters to draw. But that just doesn't really work because you just want to get the full potential out of it. And what really made me want to play this card is so Valkyrion was always the rock monster that you use because it's a high attack rock monster in the game. So it has 3,500. But prior to Dystopia the Despondent releasing, the highest attack Fiend that you could use was 4,000. So it actually was only 7,500 attack points, where now, because you have 5,000 attack points with Dystopia, it goes up to 8,500, which means that you can kill your opponent with one attack with no other setup. And that might not seem like a big difference, but it really does make a huge impact on how consistent this deck is. It requires you to not have to summon two of these or summon something next to it. You can just summon it, and if they have a clear board, you can attack for over 8,000 damage and kill them in one turn. Now, how do you summon this? Well, you can use Dark Fusion, which is pretty much just a regular polymerization specifically for the evil heroes, but also it gives an addition ability that the special summon monster cannot be targeted by opponent's spells, trap, or card effects this turn. That is super helpful. I guess if you're trying to play this deck against Zodiacs, it would mean that it'll protect it from Trident, but more importantly, it just protects it from a whole bunch of stuff that would pop it before it gets to the battle phase. And I really wish it was just making it unaffected by card effects, but in the time that it was released, that would have been really broken, so I can understand why they didn't do that. So that's the main way that you're summoning it. Dark Calling is the other way. So Dark Calling is essentially just a miracle fusion for evil heroes. So the goal here is to have, somehow you have to have Dystopia and Valkyrion use Dark Fusion to summon an 8,500 attack Dark Gaia, and then use Dark Calling to summon a second 8,500 attack Dark Gaia by banishing the materials from your graveyard. Because that can get over monsters and stuff. And I mean, it's not super inconsistent. One engine that I am playing in this video is Kuriboh's. So these cards are really cool. Win Kuriboh, if you know, when it's destroyed, you just don't take any damage for the rest of the turn, so that can kind of stall because deck bricks a lot. And then you can use Fluid of Summoning Kuriboh to actually see that more often. And the reason we're playing these is because you can use the Philosopher's Stone, a card that I use in Gem Knights now a year and a half ago. But you can use this card if you have a Wing Kuriboh in your graveyard, and then you can pay half your life points to add a fusion card to your hand. So that'll add Dark Fusion. It can't search a Dark Calling, unfortunately, but adding Dark Fusion is still really good. And this is sort of the stalling engine, and as you'll see in here, I'm also playing another Kuriboh that I'll talk about, but I'll start the gameplay right now. So the other Kuriboh I'm playing is Kuriboh. I guess it's Kuriboh. It's such a stupid pun. Anyway, Kuriboh is really cool, though. I think it was released in the Yugi decks that were released this past year with Tides of Brethren and stuff. Maybe it was a movie pack. I have no idea. I don't play Kuribohs. Cut me some fucking slack. But basically, it has two effects. So the first one is that at the end of the battle phase, you can discard it, and I believe it special summons all the monsters that were destroyed by battle that turn, but we're just trying to use it to bring back Wing Kuriboh. And then while it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to summon, if your opponent attacks, you can banish it to summon all the Kuribohs in your graveyard. This has some cool applications and dedicated Kuriboh decks, but for our purposes, this is basically, it's a 3-turn stall. If you have a Wing Kuriboh and a Kuriboh, I hate that name so much. I mean, I get it. It's funny. It's whatever. He reborns things. He's a Kuriboh, but it's tough. Anyway, so basically you set Wing Kuriboh, they attack it, they can't kill you that turn, and then during the end of the battle phase, you bring it back with Kuriboh, and then on your next turn, if they they can kill the Kuriboh, you won't die that turn, and then on the third turn, you can then banish the Kuriboh from your graveyard to bring back the Kuriboh a third time, and then they can't kill you that turn. And in a deck where you're playing 6 monsters that you can't summon and 6 fusions that are useless without the 6 monsters, that stalling ability is really helpful, and I can't stress that enough. And then the other cool thing that I believe I do once in these replays, I did it a couple times where I didn't win the game, but it's pretty cool. So you can actually search regular Kuriboh with the Flute of Summoning Kuriboh, which might not sound that great, but Kuriboh is a fiend monster, which means that you can use it to summon Evil Hero Dark Gaia if you have a Valkyrion and then a Flute. And that came up, like I said, a couple times, and every time I did it, it was like really cool because so it doesn't summon it at that much attack points. It'd just be what, 3,800? Yeah, 3,800, and that's not like a ton. But in this replay, when I have that combo, I have Dark Fusion and Dark Calling as well, so it's 2 3,800 monsters, and that's just shy of game, unfortunately. But it's still better than not having any cards to play. Some other things that I wanted to mention is that this deck was a really good example of why I love Pot of Desires so much. Every time I resolved Pot of Desires, pretty much, it helped like a ton, and that's just like something that not every rogue deck had access to before Pot of Desires was released. And I know, oddly enough, I feel like a lot of the times that casual players are complaining about Pot of Desires, it's in decks like this that they don't want to banish their Kuribohs and they don't want to banish their rock monsters or whatever. But I found it super useful because, I mean, you would draw hands where like it'd be like, because I mean you need 4, I mean really you need like 3 cards, but I mean you're really trying to get 4 because you want to have both fusion cards, and that's really difficult when you have nothing to search any of these cards. I mean, I thought about playing, I believe one of the Electromagnet Warriors can search Valkyrion, but that's just not really worth it. And I think in some of these gameplays I'm even playing a Berserkion, whatever the new Magnet Warrior guy was, just to have like another rock monster, but I found that it just like wasn't worth it. But man, Desires is good because like even if your first 5 are just like garbage cards, you can draw Desire. So you draw for turn, and let's say you draw Desires and you draw on 2 more cards, and that's just, it doesn't seem like a big difference, but it really made a difference. One other thing that I was playing was Magical Mallet. I wasn't playing it in all these replays because something that I discovered later on. This was a card that I tried playing in Rainbow Dragon OTK and it never helped because you were just drawing Crystal Beast monsters. But I found it helpful in this deck because a lot of times what would end up happening is so I'm playing like Denko and Twin Twisters, but sometimes opponents just like don't set back row and those cards are just really like dead. So you can use Magical Mallet to put them back and hopefully draw like literally anything else. There was one time where there were multiple times. I mean, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro shuffling system kills me, but there were multiple times where I would shuffle back like a Denko and Twin Twisters and draw a Denko and Twin Twisters, and like that's not supposed to happen. Like let's be real, that's not supposed to happen. I know it's an anomaly, but it was still annoying. And yeah, what else is there even to mention? Megamorph is really helpful, just because You can take damage in this deck for sure, especially if you don't open the Kuriboh. But as you saw in some of these replays, it's also cool because you can just summon either Kuriboh or Maxi or Denko, crash into an opponent's monster when you have a Megamorph equipped to the Evil Hero Dark Gaia, and then it goes to 17,000 attack points. And that's a pretty easy 17,000 attack point monster, because like that basically means that if your opponent, unless they can stop the battle, they're just going to lose the game because they would need, I mean, it can attack, I'm pretty sure it can attack over whatever it feels like, it'll do 8,000 damage. I mean, sure, if your opponent is playing like the Sacred God fusion monster, Artemite or whatever that card is, or Artile? I don't even know what that card is, but it has like 10,000 attack. I guess if it attacks over that, they'd still be at 1,000, so like, fuck them. But other than that, I'd say in most scenarios, a 17,000 attack monster will kill your opponent pretty darn fast without any problems, especially when you consider the Dark Fusion blanket effect of the card not being targeted. Dark Fusion is actually kind of cool though. I remember playing it back when Fluffles first came out. I tried picking up Dark Fusions because you can use them to summon the Fright Furs, and then they can't be targeted by spells, traps, or card effects. And the only downside of it is that it can't be searched. I mean, we're searching it in here, but it's not like you would play the Philosopher's Stone in Fluffles. That's just not a thing. I mean, that would be really inconsistent. I guess I mean, I played it in Gem Knights just because of Brilliant Fusion, but Mathematician was also at 3, so I'm not going to count that. But overall, this deck's pretty linear, I would say. It was a lot of fun, though. I remember playing this deck on the 2008 Game Boy game. Maybe not the 2008 one. That'd be like 2008. It would either be the 2008 or 2009 one where Evil Heroes were in it. But it wasn't super consistent back then. But Evil Hero Dark Gaia is inarguably the best Evil Hero. I don't want to get like the one Evil Hero fanboy in my chat complaining about that. But Evil Hero Dark Gaia is without a doubt the best Evil Hero, especially as far as fusion monsters go. So I really like playing him in decks, even if it sometimes is kind of bricky. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and this deck that I made, and I will see you guys later. Bye.